70 years, and then they write a will of zulm, they write a will of haram, they write a will of oppression, and then they pass away and they enter the hellfire. And maybe someone else, they did their life, whatever, here, there, everywhere, but they make sure that their will is in accordance with the Sharia, and for them is khair and barakah, insha'Allah. And this hadith reported in the Musnad of Imam Ahmed. We will discuss bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, for example, when someone passes away, what is the estate? The estate of any individual is made up of certain components. The estate. This is everything that the person owns. You don't need to write anything, Ya Mashayikh. Pay attention. So the estate of Sulaiman, the estate of Salim, insha'Allah, once they pass away, what's the first thing that we do? What's the most important thing that we do? With the person's money. Salim passed away and he left behind $100,000. What's the first thing we need to sort out? The first thing we need to sort out? So some say the debts of the person. You could owe money to who? You could owe money to Ahmed, Salim, Ilyas, Sumayya, the municipality, your light account, your air conditioner account, your utilities bill. Those are all debts, yes or no? Yes. Sometimes we only think that, no, I owe Ahmed money, I owe Salim money, but what about the utility bill? Those are also debts on the man's head. Trade, we'll come to that. But number one, the most important matter is funeral expenses, Ya Mashayikh. We need to bury him. Yes or no? You need to bury him. We need to purchase a kafan. You need to purchase the plot at the graveyard. You need to sort out all of these matters. So the first matter is the matter of funeral expenses. Because we're not going to use anyone else's money. Why should I use the masjid committee's money? Why should I use his neighbor's money for his funeral expenses? We use his own money for his own funeral expenses. Side note, if one of the sons says, I will pay all the expenses for the funeral, MashaAllah, Tabarakallah, absolutely no problem whatsoever. In fact, if you do that, there's going to be more inheritance. There's going to be more money left behind in the pot. Are you with me? So when someone passes away, if the guy left behind 100,000, how much are funeral expenses here? I think great expensive. Mushkila. $3,000. Grave and everything included. Your kafan and everything. MashaAllah. Right? So let's say the funeral expenses were 3,000. If one of the sons, that means 100,000 minus 3,000. But if one of the sons says, I will pay for this. The neighbor says, you know, I loved Brother Salim so much. I want to pay for the funeral expenses. No problem. That would mean that we have more inheritance. That would mean we still have a larger estate. Are you all with me? Simple stuff, right? A, B, C, D. Excellent. So the first matter, funeral expenses. And similarly, when a female passes away, if she has wealth, etc., then we pay it from her money. If the husband says, no, don't worry, I will sort it out, I will pay, MashaAllah. Whoever wants to pay it. The government says, we'll pay it, MashaAllah. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaba bikum. Funeral expenses. After we sorted out funeral expenses, and let's say they were 3,000, so we have 97,000 left. Then what do we do? Debts. Then we sort out debts. Excellent. Ya Mashayikh, يُغْفَرُ لِلشَّهِيدِ كُلُّ ذَنْبِ إِلَّا الدِّينِ. All the sins of the martyr are forgiven except the matter of debt. Because debt equals death. Imagine the martyr, the one who gave his life fi sabilillah. All of his matters are forgiven, MashaAllah, except huquq al-ibad, except the rights of mankind. You know, our Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam will not pray janazah over people who had debt. Yes or no? He will ask, does this person have debt? They said, yes. He will say, I will not pray over it until someone sorts it out. Then one companion says, Ya Rasulullah, I will sort it out. Then he will pray salatul janazah over the man. Why? To show the gravity of the matter of debt. We are not talking about where a person, MashaAllah, he passes away and he owes $1,000 and he had an estate of 100,000. MashaAllah, there's no issue at all because it would be paid out. Are you with me? He left an estate, so there's no issue. Prophet ﷺ would pray over janazah people like that. There's no issue there because he has the funds. We are talking about somebody who owes 100,000 and he only has 1,000. That's where the problem comes in. Are you with me? Excellent. So make sure that you do not leave debts behind. Make sure that you pay up as far as possible. Make sure that you do not overburden yourself. Hayyakumullah ya Doctor, ahlan wa sahlan. Hayyakallah bikum hasan. And so make sure that you do not leave behind, you do not incur all of these debts. Subhanallah, how many a young couple, husband and wife just got married, and now because of walima, they needed to invite how many people, Muhammad? 500 people. 500 people, inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un, to the walima. Right? And then also her father asked for what? Father asked for a car for her. My daughter is a university graduate. Not any girl here, right? So you need to provide a car. You need to have a separate apartment. We don't want any of this mother-in-law business here. So she needs a separate apartment, inshallah, right? And then 500 guests. And so he's sitting with a bill of what? 50,000. And then obviously her mahar. And then a holiday in Bahamas also. Mushkila, Allah musta'an. And then every time they get married, whenever he looks at her, what does he see? What does he see? Ding. Every time he looks at her, he sees debts. And then subhanallah, he has to take on 2 jobs. He has to work extra hard. There's no holidays, etc. they can afford. Why? Because and you know that 500 people attended that meal and they still complained that the food was bad. So what was the point at the end of the day? Allah musta'an. And then this young couple, they're in their 20s, and then she says, you don't spend enough time with me. He said, because I've got so much of debt to pay off. And if I don't pay, then we're dealing with riba and this and that. Allah musta'an. Pressures which they did not need. And nikah can be done in what? In 10 seconds. I marry my daughter Sumayya to you. The guy says, I accept. And 2 witnesses were there, inshallah. And that's a 100% nikah done. Anyway, I'm trying. So the matter of debts. We spoke a little bit about debts. Avoid them bi'idhnillah. It is ham fil layl and gham fil nahar. Debts can also be divided into 2 categories. Debts to mankind and debts to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Debts to mankind, for example, your lights, your university, utilities, you owe the doctor some money, what else? You know all these things. Sulaiman, Jayed, I was supposed to be a doctor, but only got the handwriting. So debts to mankind, you solve them all, alhamdulillah. Then you also have debts to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And by the way, when we talk about mankind, irrelevant whether it's Muslim or non-Muslim. Many times the Muslim has this idea that if I owe the non-Muslim money, it's fine. If I owe the municipality money, it's fine. If I owe the, a company or something, no, it's not fine. Also, on a side note, if, for example, the municipality has a clause, they have certain conditions, that if you pass away, automatically the debt is wiped out, then it's good. Then you don't owe them anything. If, for example, you borrowed some money from Salim, Salim lent you $1,000, but Salim said, if ever you pass away or something, don't worry, it's maaf. You don't have to pay me, it's afu, it's over. And so khalas. So if you pass away, that will be automatically wiped out. You don't have to pay that. Self-explanatory, inshaAllah. Then debts to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What would that include?
Prayer.
Prayer.
Like maybe if you missed a couple, you make up for it.
Let's begin with, let's say, zakah. Right? So for example, this man, mashallah, he started practicing Islam at the age of 65. Right? Who said that? Which area are you from, Sheikh? Pakistan. Peshawar. Peshawar now on the border there's war. So, do they really live that long? Below the belt. Anyway, I'm shy. 65. Doctor says 65. And then he started practicing at 65. So, from the time he had wealth, from the time he became nisab, the bill, when he had that amount of wealth, nisab, from that day till 65, those years that he did not pay zakah, he has to pay zakah for all of those years. And if he did not pay it, and he passed away, then from his estate we will take out that money. Are you with me? So you can see that, subhanAllah, the heirs, the son, the daughter, the wife, etc., they come down the line here. These are filters which take away the money. Because you can only give to the heirs what you owned. But funeral expenses that we need to sort out. Debts. You don't own this money. You might have passed away with $100,000, but if 50,000 belongs to the doctor, and the other 50,000 belongs in zakah that you have not yet paid, you own nothing. Yes or no? You were just sitting on the money which was owed to the poor, and you were sitting on the doctor's money. Are you with me? So there's nothing to give your kids. It's khalas, it's all over. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum. Excellent. Gets to Allah. So for example, the zakah. Zakah is the right of the poor. It's the haqq of the poor. And so, if you had to pay zakah this year, $1,000, and you have not yet paid, what does it mean? It means that you are sitting with $1,000 of the poor man's money. If that poor guy is going hungry, you are responsible because you're sitting with his money. You're not supposed to be sitting with that money. It's supposed to go to him. Once the time of zakah comes up, that annual cycle comes, you cease to be the owner of that money. He is now the owner of the money. Are you with me? So when you pass away, it needs to be given to the rightful owners. So zakah for all the years of the past that you have not paid. Someone said, I don't know. How do I calculate? We say guess and estimate. So you guesstimate. You guesstimate, inshaAllah, and then you find a figure, a ballpark figure, inshaAllah, and you can work with that, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So zakah, what are the debts that you could owe to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Kafara, right? Example, someone broke his oath, he said, Wallahi, I will attend the Al-Kawthar course tomorrow. And then subhanAllah, he did not pitch up. Whether he had a valid reason or he did not have a valid reason, that's between him and Allah. But because he took the name of Allah, a kafara is due. A kafara is due. And number one, set free a slave. There's no slaves, then we move on to the next matter. That you clothe 10 poor Muslims or you feed 10 poor Muslims. And if you're unable to do that, then we move to the matter of fasting. So this guy, he had the ability to clothe 10 poor Muslims, but he passed away. So that's a debt of the oath which was broken. Right? He has to sort out. The money which it costs to pay for the clothing of 10 poor Muslims must be sorted out. In the month of Ramadan, he was at the age of 65, and he was very sick, he was diabetic, and he was unable to fast. For every day that he missed of fasting, he had to feed a poor Muslim. Yes or no? Yes or no? And so there's that fidya that needs to be paid there, sorted out. So there's a value to that. It needs to be given to the rightful owners. What else? Gets to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nadar, Hajj, na'am ya dukur, Hajj, mashallah. So this brother, sitting on millions, mashallah. But at the age of 65, he says, no, next year, inshallah. Next year, inshallah. Right? I'm going to go for Hajj, you know when the crowds get less. Right? Next year, inshallah, the crowds will be less. So he says, next year, and then he passes away. Because he had the money, then from his estate, the money must be given to someone to perform Hajj on his behalf. Because that's a debt he owes to Allah. He had the money, didn't do it, and so he owes the debt. Fahimtum? Fahimtum, ya Mashaykh? Jayyid, Muftaz. So that's debt sorted out, inshallah. We sort out all of these debts. So as you can see, the pie is getting smaller and smaller. So if the pie is like that, funeral expenses there, and if this guy's got a lot of debt, adds up all of this here, then the next matter is the person's wasiyah. And this is wherein maybe many of the matters of the will also come in. Wasiyah, bequest. This is the only part of your estate that you have the rights over. In our Sharia, when someone passes away, the wealth that this person owned. Now that he's dead, does he completely control it? No, he does not completely control it. You are dead. The money that you left behind, 100,000, do you have complete control over it? No. That's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is that once you die, you have absolutely no control over the money you left behind at all. That's another extreme. Islam is in the middle. Islam says that you don't have full control over all the money you left behind, nor do you have no control, but rather you're in the middle somewhere. You have control over 1/3 of what you owned, and nothing more than 1/3. Think about this, Ya Mashaykh, that if we had to pass away today, all that we have control over is 1/3 of what we own. 2/3, whether you like it, whether you don't, whether you cry, whether you jump, whether you scream, you have no control over it at all. And as per the Sharia, you can write a will, and you can say that when I die, I leave behind 100,000, 50,000 must go to my wife, 5,000 must go to my eldest son, 20,000 must go to my youngest son, 5,000 must go to the neighbor, so much must go to the animal and the dog, and here, there, wherever. You have no right to do that. You can write it in paper, you can write it in stone, you can write it in gold, and have a 20 stamps put upon it. As per the Sharia, everything besides the 1/3 will be null and void, because it will be distributed as per what Allah mentions in the Noble Quran. So if you understand this point, listen carefully. When anyone dies, they only have control over 1/3, and there's still some rules attached to that 1/3. They only have control over 1/3. The other 2/3, whether you like it or not, will be distributed as per Surah An-Nisa, the verses of inheritance. Any Hafiz al-Quran here? One. Complete Quran, Dr. MashaAllah, Dr. Ayyub, MashaAllah, Jayyid. Probably the toughest verse in the Noble Quran is which verse? Which verse do they test the Hafiz al-Quran on during exams? Huh? Which one are you? Yusikumullahu fi awladikum. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the matters of inheritance. Why? Because it's confusing. If there's no kids, there's this amount. If there's kids, there's that amount. If there's a wife, she gets, then the other one gets this amount. Then if there's no wife, there's this amount. Husband, no husband. If there's mother, there's no mother. So there's all these options. In English, you read it, you get confused. How much more in Arabic? Right? So that's a tough one there. And look at this. The verses of inheritance mentioned in which surah? In Surah An-Nisa, subhanallah. The entire surah dealing with the matters of the women. Pre-Islamic period, women got how much? They got zero. They got zero. In fact, women were inherited. That someone dies, and the wife is left there, and the brother comes along and he says, right, you are my wife now. Or the father comes along and he says, right, you are my wife now. You know, they were inherited. And the Sharia comes. Look at this example, subhanallah. That someone passes away and they leave behind a 2-day-old daughter. A 2-day-old daughter. And this person had a father, mother, spouse, etc. And he's also got his brother. The deceased brother. And maybe he's 50 years old. And now he comes along there and he says to the widow that, you know what, my brother passed away, and so I'm taking all of the money. That's what they did in Jahiliyyah. The strong brother came along and he took everything away. As per the Sharia, he will not get a cent. That brother there will not get a cent in our scenario. And that 2-day-old daughter will get half the estate. Will get how much? Half the estate. Pre-Islam, brother comes along and takes everything. In Islam, and how many a family still operates on the system of Jahiliyyah? Yes or no? How many a family in Pakistan, in this place, in Jazair, wherever it might be, but the brothers come along, no, your kids, no, daughters, dida, whatever, and they take everything, and many a times the sisters also are sidelined, and they don't get anything. Allah musta'an. How groundbreaking the Sharia was. And they were like, what are you talking? This 2-day-old daughter, she will get half the estate, and their understanding was, and it makes sense a little bit. They said that she can't fight in battle. She does not do any work. She can't defend the tribe. She's not doing anything. You know, what are you going to give her half the estate for? Craziness. Sharia came with these rules and she will get half the estate, subhanAllah. Anyway, I'm trying. So debts we sorted out. The wasiyah is 1/3 of the estate, right? 1/3 of the estate. And there's two rules attached to the wasiyah. And by the way, when we say 1/3 of the estate, listen carefully. Is it 1/3 of the big pie? Important. When we say 1/3, is it 1/3 of the big pie, or is it 1/3 of this section, the remainder? Even, example, let's say this guy passes away and 3,000 were the funeral expenses, and let's say 47,000 were his debts to Allah and debts to mankind. So how much does he have left over? 50,000. How much he has left over? 50,000. So is it 1/3 of 100,000 or 1/3 of 50,000? 1/3 of 50,000. Why? Because that's all you own. Because this 47,000 was not even yours. It was zakah, it was hajj, it belonged to the municipality, utilities bill. It wasn't your money. And then that was your funeral expenses. So 1/3 of 50,000 would be how much? Exactly. Work it out, right? 16.6. Anyway, smartphones, so we're all done.
16.5.
16.5, خلاص. So let's say 1/3, 16,500, inshallah, right? 16,500, inshallah. So he can make a wasiyah. Of that 50,000, he can make a wasiyah, bequest. There's two rules attached to the bequest. Number one, it is to an outsider. Very, very important. Very, very important. The bequest is to an outsider. Another wording would be a non-heir. Non-heir. Meaning, somebody who is not inheriting from you. Nobody can say in their will, my son will inherit such and such. My daughter will inherit such and such. I want my wife to inherit such and such. I want my father to inherit such and such. No, because they are heirs. So Allah stipulated their share in the Quran. You can't give them what you want to give. They will get what Allah stipulated in the Quran. Are you with me? The wasiyah is for the outsider. You can leave something to Sheikh Hassan al-Shaybani, where they say, well, you know what they say? Where there's a will, I want to be in it. So you can leave some for me, inshallah. I'm an outsider, I'm not related to you. You can leave something to the Islamic school. You can leave something to the Department of Education. You can leave something for your non-Muslim neighbor. You can leave something for your friend across the street. The person who's a non-heir. But if you say, I want my son to get this, null and void. Are you with me? But Sheikh Hassan will talk about. But if you're living in the West, now, there's certain devices that you have to use to make your will Sharia compliant. So there, you might have to say, I want my wife to get this amount. I want my son to get this amount. But basically you are saying that they must get the amount which the Sharia has already stipulated in Surah An-Nisa. Are you with me? Don't get confused, right? I'm talking about the guy living in Saudi Arabia. Sheikh Hassan will talk about the guy living in Canada, inshallah. I'm talking about the guy living in Saudi Arabia. So his will, by default, will be judged according to the Sharia. Are you with me? Right? So there's no need for him. There's no need for him to say, my son will get this amount. His son will get what the Quran said. There's no need for him to say, my daughter will get such and such. His daughter will get what the Quran said. There's no need for him to say that my wife will get this or my mother will get this. They will get what the Sharia has stipulated. What he can do is, I want my neighbor to get this, because that's not in the Quran. I want my dog to get this, that's not in the Quran. Don't leave anything. Say money is gone to the dogs. Money is gone to the dogs, mushkila. Alright? He can say that I want my university friend to get such and such, because that's not in the Quran. So important. The wasiyah of one. So look at this, subhanallah. What did Allah say in Surah Al-Baqarah? وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. And you spend, and they spend of what we gave them. Allah didn't say, and they spend of what they have. Allah didn't say they spend of what they own. Allah said, you spend of what we gave you. You're not even the owner at the end of the day. Look at this, subhanallah. Understand this, ya Mashaykh, that the million that you own, number one, 2/3 of the million you cannot do with it as you wish. It will be distributed as per the Quran. You only have access, authority over how much? Over 1/3. And even the 1/3, it's got two rules. The first rule is, it cannot be for an heir. It cannot be for the person who is inheriting from you. Did you get that? And the second rule is, it cannot be more, can't be more than 1/3, right? So the wasiyah is only up to 1/3 and not more than 1/3. Two rules again attached to the wasiyah. It is for an outsider, and number two, it is only up to 1/3. So now, if from 50,000 we took 16.5 out, this guy made a wasiyah for Al-Kawthar, mashallah. So $16,500 came to Al-Kawthar, alhamdulillah. How much left behind? 50,000 minus 16.5? 33,500, mashallah. So that there goes to the heirs. That's where inheritance now comes in. You saw how many steps it takes before we come to inheritance? Before we come to mirath? Before we come to fara'id? Look here. So 33,500, this will be distributed to the heirs. From 100,000, they will now get their share. So the son will get his share, the daughter will get her share, the father will get his share, mother will get their share, etc. Whoever are his heirs, they will get that, inshallah. Are you with me? Jayyid. Only supposed to talk for 30 minutes. Right? So that's the estate. We'll talk a little bit more there with other matters. So this is how the estate is to be distributed. Now, the guy living in Saudi Arabia, does he have to write a will? Okay, now let's see. Based upon what we mentioned, who's the bright spark? The guy living in Saudi Arabia, is it important for him to have a will? Does he have to have a will?
Yes, according to the hadith.
According to the hadith, okay.
But wasiyah is not a will. Like if somebody make a verbal wasiyah, applying one.
Whether it's verbal, whether it's oral, whether it's written, it doesn't make a difference. Verbal is just like writing down, etc. We write down things so that it is recorded and we can use it for proof. My question again, the guy living in Saudi Arabia, does he have to have a will?
Yes.
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 Why yes?
It's not to decide who gets the 1/3.
Take note, this 1/3 is a matter which is optional. Why? Do I have to give my neighbor something? Do I have to give something to RSPCA? Do I have to give something to Al-Kawthar? He gave to Al-Kawthar. Does he have to give Al-Kawthar something? No! It's optional. This is sadaqah. This is charity. You want to benefit yourself in the hereafter. Are you with me? So, if he does not have to give to Al-Kawthar, does he have to make a wasiyah? He does not have to make a wasiyah. Prophet ﷺ, when the companion wanted to give away everything that he owned, Prophet ﷺ told him, no, don't give away everything in charity. He said, okay, I'll give half of everything I own in charity. No, it's too much. Then he said, I'll give 1/3 in charity. Look, he's giving 1/3 in his wasiyah, in his charity. Prophet ﷺ told him, okay, الثلث والثلث كثير. 1/3 is acceptable, but even that's a lot. And that's why some ulama would say that the wasiyah, it's even better not to give 1/3, but rather to give a little less than 1/3. Maybe give a quarter, or maybe give a fifth. Why? It's allowed 1/3, but as per the hadith, if you want to be literal, 1/3 and 1/3 is a lot. So rather you go a little bit less. And think about it, if you do not give a wasiyah, then obviously there's going to be more inheritance for the heirs, yes or no? Then it would be 50,000 here, and it would not be 33,500, yes or no? And so if your family, they are struggling, if your family needs assistance, then it's better for you not to give a wasiyah. Prophet ﷺ told that companion that rather you leave your family, with wealth, than them begging from the people. Are you all with me, Abshai? So the wasiyah is an optional thing. So I ask again, the man living in Saudi Arabia by default, does he have to have a will? No, he doesn't, except if he's got debts. If he's got debts, your family don't know about who you owe money. They don't know you owe this person money. They don't know that you borrowed from Salim. They don't know that you borrowed from Sumayya some money. So you need to have a will to show there that I owe these people. Why? Because when you die, Salim comes and he says, you know what, your father owed me some money. You got any proof, Salim? So I don't have any proof. Well, we don't have any proof. This is our inheritance. We can't give you our inheritance. You don't have any proof. And then the father is getting burnt upstairs and he's not going into Jannah because he owes people money. Are you with me? Right? Or for example, they don't know that he took an oath and he broke his oath and so he owes a kafara. So the guy in Saudi Arabia, if he does not have any debts, important sentence. The guy in Saudi Arabia, if he does not have any debts and if he does not want to make a wasiyyah, then technically he does not need a will. Why? Because by default his estate will be distributed as per Surah An-Nisa. It will go to the Qadi and he'll distribute it to the heirs as per the Sharia. Are you with me? Are you with me? Excellent. But the guy in Saudi Arabia who has debts, then he needs to write it in the will. He needs to make note of it. And then he wants to make a wasiyyah. He needs to make note of it. And also, the will comes in not only to do with money. You want to give advice to your kids. Imagine, subhanAllah, you all know that your grandfather, when he was in his deathbed, and then he called your father, and the father was there. Up till today, your father says that, you know, your grandfather on his deathbed, he said to me, please always make sure that you look after a certain person and their family. I looked after them and you continue that. Please make one kid from the family a Hafiz al-Quran. You know, these final advices, people would remember them inshaAllah. So that at times is more important in the will than even the matter of money. You write there that, oh my son, oh my daughter, you write it there. And then they will keep this copy and this a sunnah which will continue in the family. When you on your deathbed, you write for your kids. When they're on their deathbed, they write for their kids. You know, not on the deathbed, but they have it written down. That, oh my son, such and such, look after your sisters. Who is going to look after them? Maybe there's one sister that, you know, she's been divorced or her husband's passed away. Make sure you make the tarbiyah of the kids. The matter of nasiha, the matter of akhlaq, these type of matters, inshaAllah, that's always recommended. The wasiyyah of advice is always recommended. As for the wasiyyah of money, it is only an obligation when you have debts and if you want to make a wasiyyah, inshaAllah. Fahimtum? Jayy. Few other points, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, that in the will, and you all been given draft copies, inshaAllah, in the will, you also mentioned, you know, the matters of debts we discussed, the matter of guardianship, you know, over young kids, maybe. For example, what happens if the husband and wife are in an accident and both of them pass away? What happens to the kids? Guardianship matters, etc. Who you want to give charity to? The matter of the wasiyyah, guidance, nasiha, you mentioned it there. Executors of your will. I mean, somebody's will, mashallah, he only owns $1,000. Someone else owns 10 million. So he needs executors. He needs people to be in charge of this, to sort out all of these matters. The funeral wishes. I want my janazah, Salatul Janazah to be prayed at a certain masjid. I want my brother Ahmed to lead Salatul Janazah over me. All of these matters you mention where? You mention it in your will. For example, certain munkarat, maybe in certain areas they do certain bid'ah innovations, etc. at the time of janazah. So you say there that my janazah, after janazah prayer, I do not want this to be done. I don't want that to be done. Maybe you follow the opinion that flowers should not be put on the grave or trees should not be planted on the grave. Maybe you follow that opinion. So in the wasiyyah, you say that please over my grave do not do this and that, do not put these plants. Are you okay? Right? So these matters, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, hayyakumullah. And also, the estate of any individual is what? Is everything that this person owned. We forget this point. We only think of estate in terms of, when we said 100,000, we did not mean that this is all the money that the guy had. No! Everything that he owned, from his underwear to his toothpick, to the pin that the sister uses to tie her hair. All of that forms part and parcel of the estate. Are you with me? subhanallah, many a times what happens? Father passes away, and maybe one son was living with the father. And then the fridge was purchased by the father, the sofa was purchased by the father, the dining room table was purchased by the father. Father died, and all of this is supposed to be distributed. Father's got 3 sons. Each one of them has a share in these matters. But the son who's living in the house, he continues to use it, and then it becomes part and parcel of his estate. It's as if he owns it, and then his children inherit from him, and they take the table, and they take the plate, etc. One might think it's insignificant, but nothing is insignificant. That last dime is part and parcel of the estate. And so when the man died, it's like this. If the man owned the cell phone, and he died, and all he had were 3 sons, that means each one of them now automatically owns 1/3 in the cell phone. Are you with me? Each one of them owns 1/3. So you're going to say, how do they distribute it now? Break it up in half, one take the battery, one take the cover, one take the cell phone? No, it can't work like that. Rather, what they can do is, they can sell the cell phone for $100, and then they distribute it 33, 33, 33.3, 0.9, etc., whatever it is, 0.3, and they distribute it. So that's one way out. Second way out is, one of them says, you know what, I want the cell phone. You know, my father has been living with me, and we've been using the cell phone. I also use it, I'm comfortable with it. So each of you has a third, and so I will buy you out. I will pay you out, and based upon whatever they agree, whatever the value is, then he pays them out, and then now he can keep it for himself. Now he is the complete owner. But him too, father passes away, he's got 5 sons. He has a house. Each one of them owns 1/5 in the house. If they had no other heirs, insha'Allah. Khalas? Jayyid. In summary, ya mashayikh, from my side, we mentioned the ahadith of Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, showing the importance with regards to the will, and we interpret those ahadith especially in light of somebody having debts and he did not write a will. Or, what about money is owed to the person? Also important. When we talk about debts, monies which you owe, and also money is owed to you. Money is owed to you. Salim owes you $10,000. So wouldn't that be part and parcel of the estate? So that's going to come into the pie, 10,000. But if you don't write it in your will, your sons don't even know. They're supposed to go and ask Salim and get the 10,000. And Salim, mashallah, he just keeps quiet about the matter. Are you with us? Okay? Now, subhanallah, you know, as one brother said, he does not lend money any longer. He says, why? He says, because it causes amnesia. When I lend people money, their minds, you know, just start to go hazy, and people start forgetting, mashallah. So I do not want to increase the, you know, the instances of amnesia in society. Hayyakallah. So ya mashayikh, the first matter, funeral expenses, that gets sorted out. Number 2, debts to Allah and debts to mankind. We sort out all of those debts. And money is owed to you, will come into the pie. After this, we sort out the matter of wasiyah, if the person wanted to make a wasiyah. If you are poor, it's best you make no wasiyah. Why? You leave more money to your family, then they can benefit, insha'Allah. Charity begins at home, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. If you want to make a wasiyah, 2 rules attached. You cannot make a wasiyah to an heir. You cannot say that my daughter gets such and such. You cannot say my son gets such and such. And you cannot make a wasiyah for more than 1/3. If, for example, you made a wasiyah to an heir, or if you made a wasiyah for more than 1/3, then the rules attached to that, we will discuss on Sunday in the course, insha'Allah. It's outside the realm of our discussion right now. What if someone did not listen to the sharia, and he made a wasiyah to his son, or he made a wasiyah, of half of his estate to Al-Kawthar? He says, 50% I give to Al-Kawthar. 50% I give to Bilal Ismail, mashallah. Will that be valid? How's this? What if all the heirs, they said, no problem. We are happy with that. We love Bilal Ismail, mashallah. We want it. Our father should not have done this. He should not have given 50% to Bilal Ismail. Right? But if he wanted to, we'll allow it. Then it's fine. Because it's akin to, it's as if 1/3 was given to Bilal Ismail, and then the heirs all got their share, and then they took from their money, and they gave to Bilal Ismail and made it 50% in accordance to the wishes of the father. Are you with me? Only 1/3, they are bound to accept. After 1/3, we need their permission. Because it's like them giving their money. It's their haqq. If they want to let go of it, if someone dies, he left behind $1 million, and he said everything is for Al-Kawthar, and he's got 20 kids, and they all said no problem, then it's fine. Because they let go of their haqq. Khalas? Are you with me? Excellent. So, more about that we'll discuss bi'idhnillahi ta'ala at the course. Then we move on to the matter of the heirs, and that's when the issues of inheritance come up, insha'Allah. And that we will discuss in the Al-Kawthar course, the detailed issues of inheritance. Suffice to know 2 points, insha'Allah. That number 1, we have weak hadith where the Messenger ﷺ states, the first knowledge to be taken away from this ummah is the knowledge of inheritance. The hadith might be weak, but the reality is that the statement is like true. Because the knowledge of inheritance is in the hands of very, very few. Many ulama, many graduates of Darul Ulum, Jami'ah, etc. You ask him, Shaykh, you know what, I got an inheritance mas'ala. Oh, you're busy right now, inshallah. I'll send you a link of a website. You can just put it up there and you'll get the answer, inshallah. Shies away from it. So although the hadith that this knowledge will be taken away first might be weak, but the reality is that very few people really know about inheritance. SubhanAllah. Number 2, strange as it is that the madhahib do not differ much when it comes to inheritance. You don't find the Hanafis saying, for example, that the female will inherit 1/4. And you don't find then the Shafi'is and the Malikis saying, no, the wife will inherit half. Think about it. If they did that, if they said that, what would every woman say? No, wallahi, you know, this mas'ala, although my background is Hanafi, subhanallah, you know, this mas'ala really, you know, I really studied the mas'ala, and in reality, I'm supposed to inherit half from my husband's estate, and the Shafi'i madhab is the correct madhab in this, the dalil, Quran, Sunnah, mashallah, and so I'm following the Malikis and the Shafi'is in this mas'ala. Are you with me? Everybody will be hopping and skipping. Why? Because mal wa tuhibbuna al-mala hubban jamma. You will love wealth, a great loving for wealth. Are you with me? So Allah, out of His infinite wisdom, He knew that this would happen. And so that's why Allah in the Quran set it out clearly, the verses of inheritance. Salah, make salah. Zakah, pay your zakat. Allah didn't tell us 2 rak'ahs and ruku and sajda and at-tahiyyat. None of these details. But when it came to inheritance, Allah set it out clearly, black and white. Why? So that we don't fight. Why? Why? So that we don't fight. And how ironic it is. After Allah set it out clearly, so that we don't fight, what did we do? We fought over it. SubhanAllah. How many a family? I know a brother in South Africa, he comes to our Arabic classes. For about 3 years now, the guy says, you know, I'm just waiting to die. He's got a brother, you know, who's a judge and Hafiz al-Quran, etc. And this guy, because he's a judge, and because obviously the importance of the will comes in, as Sheikh Hassan will talk, that if you, especially living in a non-Muslim country, if you do not write down a will, then by default, it's not like Saudi Arabia where by default it will be distributed as per the Sharia. In the West, in the non-Muslim country, if you don't have a will, by default it will be distributed according to the law of the country. Are you with me? So that judge has manipulated matters, and he's trying to take this property and that property. And this guy, I have gotten tired from the number of times that he's come to my house and mentioned this and mentioned that. And I mean, I know the man, wallahi, is living like Jahannam on earth. He's living Jahannam, and they are brothers. They do not see eye to eye. Why? Because of the piece of land, because of the piece of this and a share of that. Allah musta'an. And also another haram is that man, you saw that man, he worshipped Allah 70 years and he got Jahannam. Why? Because the haram will. Because he wants to rule from the grave. He still wants to rule from the grave. My son must get this, my daughter that, this one must do that, that one must not come into the business, etc. This son, he was not in the business, he became a doctor. The other son was in the business. And so the son who was in the business, he must have a larger share. And the one who was not in the business must get less, etc., etc. And you know the number of problems, etc. that we have. Allah musta'an. On that note, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, I hand over to Sheikh Hassan. Hayyakumullah, jazakumullah khairan. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. بإذن الله تعالى, Sheikh Hassan, and then We are trying to finish off the Q&A before Maghrib. If not possible, then Salat al-Maghrib and then the Q&A, inshallah. Lastly, mashallah, at least it's the day of Friday, and this time after Salat al-Asr, less time, and look where we are learning about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Sharia. Hayyakallah, assalamu alaikum.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, salatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. So everyone got this copy tonight, inshallah? Just to start with, to begin with, that this copy is not an obligation. You don't have to follow or use this copy as your will. This is a sample, inshallah. It's up to you. If you want to use this one, it's your choice. But if you don't want to use it, at least this, inshallah, this will here will be used as a guideline for you and for everyone, inshallah. The one that is with MCC, it is found on their website. I looked at it, it's almost the same. The only difference is they don't have the schedule for Mawarith, which is 9 pages in this will. So basically, if you use the other one, you don't have the schedule for Mawarith. If something happens or the person dies, then he has to go to the masjid and then ask the imam to be involved and ask him about the right way to divide the inheritance. We'll try to go through this one, inshallah, very quickly, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. If you are with me, go to page 1. So we have the first part here. It says last will, the first part, last will and testament. And here you'll be saying, mentioning your name as a testator, presently residing at your address, city of Calgary, province of Alberta, being of sound mind and memory. Here, this is important. Why? Because you might get someone who would come, a family member who is not happy with your will, and he might make a claim that, you know, you signed this will when you were ill in the hospital, terminally ill, and it might be a claim in the court. So here you are making a statement that you are signing this will, with full capacity or ability, full mental ability, you have no problems, you are not sick. Of course, the witnesses have to witness your signature. Of course, this will remove many problems here. By law here in Canada, the witnesses have to sign, they have to witness your signature, and they have to witness the signature of the other witnesses. So before you go to, you decide to sign it, you take the witnesses with you, and you go to the notary public or the lawyer, and you sign it in front of all of them. Now, the second part is a preamble. Here, it's all about your declaration of faith. You are declaring that you are a Muslim, you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you believe in the rest of prophets and messengers like Abraham and Moses and Jesus and Muhammad and all the prophets. You believe that Jannah is haqq and Nar is haqq, the day of judgment is haqq. So you are confirming your faith here. Your belief, the tenets of your belief. And this is important because you want to send a message to whomever is reading this document. It could be a lawyer, a non-Muslim lawyer, who is dealing with this document after you pass away, there is no family member around. It is important for this person to know that you are a Muslim. And that everything has to be done according to the Sharia, the teachings of the Sharia. So here comes the importance of this part here. You announce your faith, you let other people know that you are about your religious identity. Now the second part, here in the same page, or the second paragraph, this is my counsel to my relatives and friends, Muslim brothers and sisters. You're trying to make a wasiyah, you advise them to follow the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And here you are following the sunnah of Ibrahim alayhi salam and Ya'qub alayhi salam. Ya baniya inna Allah astafa lakum ad-din فَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ in Surah Al-Baqarah. And it is the habit or the practice of many pious people, at the time of death, they would call their family members, and they will advise them to follow Tawheed, to follow the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and keep on, take care of their prayers, take care of each other. So you are doing it in writing here, which is something good. You'll find it in your account on the Day of Judgment. This is a proof that you did something like that. You wasiyah to your family members to keep fast, to be steadfast on the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the next part, which is in the second page, reminding your family members about the reality of this life. That they have to take it easy. I mean, this is the sunnah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prescribed upon His servants. That everyone has to die. And no soul will die before its appointed time. And this is something that we have to accept as Muslims. Because there are many family members who would not accept the death of a family member. And they start lamenting and wailing and screaming. Maybe it doesn't happen here, but I have seen it happening in other countries. Something that is happening in our communities, Muslim communities worldwide. And it is nice to give them a nasiha, to take it easy and accept, this incident, this death. There is a hadith that says, إن الميت لا يعذب ببكاء أهله عليه. This is a famous hadith, and I'm sure Sheikh Bilal will talk about it during the Kawthar course. But the hadith has different explanations. The hadith says that the translation depends on the understanding of the hadith. The Arabic version is one, إن الميت لا يعذب ببكاء أهله عليه. But it depends on the understanding. So it could be translated as the dead person or the deceased will be punished because of the weeping or the lamenting of his family member over him. This is one translation, one interpretation. The other interpretation, actually, he suffers. The dead person suffers when his family members are weeping over him, especially when he's in the house. They didn't take him or he's in the hospital and they are weeping and crying around him. And I believe this is the right explanation of Allah Ta'ala and interpretation, because it's hard to believe that someone would be punished for the acts of someone else. Right? لا تزر وازرة وزر أخرى. That no soul will bear the burden of another soul. This is a major principle in our deen. So Allah, the right translation here, interpretation here, is that the dead person will suffer through the weeping and the lamenting of his family members if they are, crying loudly and making some noise after his death. But at least when you include this in your wasiyah, you are relieving yourself from this obligation in case the other interpretation is right. Right? I don't believe that the other interpretation is right, that he would be punished. I don't believe it. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. But in case, so you are relieving yourself from this obligation, because some ulama, they said he will be punished if he doesn't make a wasiyah. He knows that it is the practice of his people, that they would cry and make a big, deal after his death, but he doesn't make a wasiyah, he doesn't say anything about it. So here in this part, the second paragraph in page 2, you're relieving yourself from this obligation. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. طيب. Here in the second or the last paragraph of this part, or the third paragraph would be the third paragraph in the second page, you are insisting on your right. So I'm making it clear to everyone that they have to honor your rights. They have to execute this will the way it is written. And they don't have the right to change anything. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَمَنْ بَدَّلَهُ بَعْدَمَا سَمِعَهُ فَإِنَّمَا إِثْمُهُ عَلَى الَّذِينَ يُبَدِّلُونَ. So there will be nothing wrong with you if people who come after you introduce some changes. You know what I mean? If, for example, if it was not notarized, for example, or they did not respect this will, or they changed it, or someone hid this will, a family member who didn't show it to the lawyer or the rest of the family member. So it's not your problem. You did your best, right? You wrote your will. but he will be sinful on the Day of Judgment. Now, Article 1 is talking about funeral burial rites. So here he ordained that no autopsy or embalming be done on your body unless required by law. If it is required, then they have no choice, and you are actually confirming this here. And without unjustified delay, my body be washed, wrapped with clothes free of any ornament, and other articles prayed for and buried, which should be all done by Muslims in complete accordance with Islamic tenets. So here, you are in the next part, you nominate a person who will take care of the funeral and the burial rites. So, and Sheikh said, Bilal, you can appoint an imam. You can say, Sheikh Fuad, I want Sheikh Fuad to lead the prayer, offer my janazah prayer. You have the right to do that. Even if the imam of the masjid does not like it, you have the right, it's your right to do it and appoint someone to, do something like that. And you're saying also in the event of legal difficulties in the execution of this article, I direct the above named person to seek counsel from an Islamic organization which adheres to the Quran and the Sunnah. Which is beautiful, alhamdulillah. Because you don't want to, anyway, let's skip this one here. You go to part C, page 3. I ordain that absolutely no non-Muslim or Islamic religious service or observance shall be conducted upon my death. You know, I remember a few years ago, a brother called me from Saskatoon. And he said, a Muslim brother who's been here for a long time, I'm not sure he was born here, but he made a verbal wasiyah to his nephews. That I want to be buried according to the teachings of Sharia. The Islamic way. And then what happened? His nephews sent him to the funeral home and he was cremated. So they did cremation to him. And after this was done, the brother said, let's go there and talk to them about it. But I told him, here, I'm in Calgary. It's a different province. It's too late. If it was before this happened, it's worth it to go, to move and drive for 6 hours to talk to them, because this is haram, this is a major sin, right? But he made a verbal wasiyah. If he had something in writing, and another family comes and say, okay, this is his wasiyah, you don't have the right to do it, then legally they don't have the right to do what they did. But, it's obvious that their relationship with Islam was very weak, and they didn't know that it's haram, Allah Ta'ala alam, but this is what happened. طيب, I ordain that no pictures, crescents or stars, decorations, crosses, flags, any symbols, Islamic or otherwise, or music shall be involved in any stage of the process. Which is something good. You are relieving yourself from all these obligations. You are telling people, I don't want this to happen during my funeral. I ordain that my body shall not be transported over any unreasonable distance. We have a problem in the community. Some people like to send their family members back home. And they are spending thousands. Like sometimes it costs them around between 10,000 to 15,000. And this is not, required. Actually, it is encouraged. We are encouraged to bury the dead as soon as possible. Ikram al-Mayyit dafnu, right? So here we find people who have families who insist on sending their family members. So what will happen? They will do the embalming. They take some blood from their bodies and they infuse some preservatives to keep the body, to prevent any decay in the body. So this is something that if you include it in your wasiyah, that would be good. If you don't want to be sent to Pakistan or to India or to Algeria, then it should be included inshallah in the wasiyah and you'll be buried here. We have a Muslim cemetery here in Calgary. Alhamdulillah, we are blessed. In the city of Calgary, there are other Muslims in other cities. They don't have a Muslim cemetery. They just got a piece of land within the Christian cemetery, which is fine if they don't have a place. As long as there is some, some signs that show that this is a Muslim place for Muslims. Of course, they have to pay for it. It's not for free, but it is within the Christian cemetery. So we here in Calgary, we are blessed to have our own land, we have our own cemetery. So you don't have to worry about this. I ordain that my grave shall be dug deep into the ground. So you confirming the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam here. And also, you don't want your body to be buried in a casket or in any encasement. And we don't do it here in Calgary, alhamdulillah. And it is not required. It is not the requirement of the law here in this land. In some states, I was told in some states in the state, United States of America, I don't know about the other provinces, it is a requirement. The law of the land requires that the person would be buried in a casket. But when it comes to the law, then you don't have choice. But alhamdulillah, we don't have this problem here in Calgary. We move to the article, the second article, executor and guardian. So here, you need to appoint an executor of this will. And you need to mention at least two people. If the first one, he declines or say I'm not able to do it, or he passes away, or anything happens, he's traveling, he's not present, then you have to, the obligation will move to the second one. The second one has to take care of this, of your will, and he has to execute it as per your wasiyyah. Also, you are in this part C here of this article, Article 2, Part C, you'll be appointing guardians of your children. And what will happen here if you don't have a will? If someone, let's example, we had an example a couple of years ago, we had a family. They were from Pakistan, they were driving in the area of Edmonton. And the whole family was in the first van, and there was a second family with them. And one child from the first family was in the second van with his friend. What happened, the first van got into an accident, and the whole family passed away. May Allah have mercy on them. So there was only one child left. And he was saved because he was in the second van with his friend. So I know, in this case, his uncle came from Pakistan. I don't know if there was a wasiyyah made by his parents to allow his uncle to come from Pakistan. I don't know the details, but what I know here, I talked to a lawyer about it, and he said if there is no wasiyyah and no family members around, then the government will not send them back home. No, they will keep them here, and they will send them to a foster care home. And it could be a Christian home. Could be anyone, could be anyone. There are some people, some social workers, and people who are involved in this department. They look for Muslims if they know that the child is Muslim. But sometimes Muslim foster homes are not available, or Muslims are not willing. And we have few families here who are offering this service in the city of Calgary. So if no Muslim is available, then the child will be living with a non-Muslim family. This is what the lawyer said, and I think it makes sense. This is what the government will do. They will not do it. They are not going to pay them tickets and send them back to Pakistan or to Algeria or to anywhere. Now the third article, debts and expenses, Sheikh has explained them. So دفع الديون. Here in this document we don't have a page for your duyun, for your debts. So it is your responsibility to write a supplementary document, an appendix, and you attach it if you want to use this one. You attach it to this will. Write it down, attach it, and you have to make a room for your signature, and it has to be signed in front of the lawyer or the notary public. The second issue here, number B, Article 3B, Paragraph B, here it says, I direct that all my inheritance, estates, and succession taxes, there are taxes related to inheritance. and these taxes will be paid to the government. But in some cases, I don't know exactly here what is the law here regarding this issue in Alberta, but in some cases, family members have the right to ask for a reimbursement. So here in this paragraph, you're saying no one has the right to collect any reimbursement except the executor, the person who is in charge of this, executing this will, right? This is what it means here in B, Article 3B. Now, charitable contributions, there is a room for that on page 5. Like Sheikh, he said, you can give to Bilal Ismail, you can give to Al-Kawthar, to ISC if you want, MCC, the Calgary Islamic School, or you can give to the orphans in Syria. I mean, but you have to designate an organization for that. Because you cannot leave it open. You cannot say orphans in Syria. You have to designate an organization, human resource, human concern, what's called the organization? Human concern, right? And, or ICNA relief, or any relief organization. And the Sheikh has explained it cannot exceed 33% unless your ears are fine, they are happy with that, then it can exceed in this case. Now there is one issue. There are many brothers and sisters who accepted Islam, they are reverts, they have non-Muslim family members. And a non-Muslim family member is not allowed to inherit, take from your inheritance. But what you can do is you can give them from this wasiyah, the third, because you have control. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you control over this part of your wealth, which is the third. So you can give it to a non-Muslim mother or a non-Muslim father, or as you wish. But you cannot, because Rasulullah made it clear, Sheikh will explain it in the course, لا تورث بين أهل ملتين لا يرث المسلم الكافر ولا يرث الكافر المسلم. يعني a non-Muslim does not inherit from a Muslim, and a Muslim does not inherit from a non-Muslim. طيب. We move now to page 6. So here the part E is talking about the fetus. And there is ijma', Wallahu ta'ala a'lam, if there is a fetus, the mother is pregnant when her husband passed away, then this baby, it could be a son, it could be a daughter, has the right to inherit. So they have to stop. If someone left a wife, okay. It's the Adhan of South Africa, or Saturday time, or Maghrib time, it's getting time. But if someone left, for example, his wife, and a boy and a daughter, 3 people, and his wife is pregnant, then the wife can take her part, which is the 8th, 12%, 12.5%. But the rest cannot be divided between the boy, the son, and the daughter, because they have to wait for the new baby to come, and then they will divide. It could be a son, or it could be a daughter, and it depends. The division will be done accordingly. And you are making sure, because you live in a non-Muslim country, so you want your baby who is coming on the way to inherit from your inheritance. Allah Ta'ala. But here, this paragraph, it says, if there is but any portion of your estate, if any portion of your estate is disclaimed or refused to be received, which is difficult to believe, but it could happen, you never know. Refused to be received by any of the legatees named or referred to in this last will and testament, or the remainder of my estate in the event of non-existence of my Islamic heirs shall be given to the Islamic Information Society of Calgary. You don't have to do that. It is that you are using this document. people who come to our organization, they ask for help. We help them with this issue here. If you have money that will be disclaimed in the future, you think that, then it can be given to the Islamic Information Society. But if you want to give it to someone else, or another organization, or Sheikh Bilal, feel free to do it. Right, Article 6. Here basically it says that if part of this last will is determined invalid by a court, a legal court here in Canada, then you are insisting on the other parts. The other parts shall remain valid and enforceable. Because it's your right. You can do nothing to the other part that was made invalid by the court. But it's still your right to insist on the other parts to be executed. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Then here, of course, you have to mention your legal name. If you have a Muslim name, that's okay, that's fine. It's not an obligation. I mean, it's not a requirement. But if you wish, you have a British name and then a Muslim name. It's up to you. And the witnesses here, we have room for 3 witnesses, but it's not a requirement. It's enough to have 2 witnesses. So if you cannot secure 3 witnesses, you can have only 2. The minimum requirement here in Canada is, in Alberta, I'm talking about Alberta, is 2. It's enough to have 2 witnesses. And they have to sign in front of each other, and you have to sign in front of them, and it's better to do it in front of a lawyer, in his office, or a notary public. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. This schedule was made by Sheikh Mundir Tahf. And he's a professor of Islamic finance. He used to reside in the state, but now he's teaching in Qatar, in the Islamic Sharia department there, University of Qatar. And he teaches Islamic finance. To the best of my knowledge, he was a member of the one of the Islamic fiqh academies. So he's a respected scholar. And he prepared it. He said, I made it a waqf for Muslims to use it in North America. That means we cannot make the money out of it. We cannot charge fees for that. Right? And we're not charging fees. Someone comes to us, ask for a copy, we'll just give it to him. Even if we have to help him at the time of preparation, we'll side with him, we don't charge fees. It is a waqf fi sabilillah. And one case should apply to yourself, to your family. You don't need all of the 9 pages. What is good about it, if something happens, something different, but a parent will pass away, or your parents pass away, or something, then you might move to a different page automatically. You don't have to, change the whole document. You don't have to make another will. This is what is good about this arrangement, including all these cases here in this document. If something happens, then you move to another case, another page. And if all of them are signed, then you don't have to do anything. Automatically, you will be classified in within a different case. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. So now, this is about this will, inshallah. If there is anything I think we'll do Q&A after the salah. Because it's time for Maghrib now. So we'll break for 10-15 minutes and then we'll come back for Q&A session. So, there is a question here, how practical is it to update your will regularly? So the brother or sister who is asking this question, they are concerned about paying for notary fees every time, because their dads keep on changing. And it's a valid question, right? You don't want to be paying these people all the time, so there is one option that you keep the sheet for a chart separate for your family to know about your debts. So you don't have to include it in the will. Separate document, doesn't have to be notarized, but your family should know about it. Since they are supposed to execute, family members or friends, execute your will, then they have to be aware of this second document. They have to know your debt obligations. And that would be enough. Because you are giving them power to execute your will and to pay your debts on your behalf. So if there is a separate document, it should be fine. It should be fine. They're busy. Okay, can I change Article 1 regarding autopsy required by law? Not giving permission even required by law. I think you can do nothing about it. If it is required by law, they'll do it. So, but you can talk to your lawyer about it or the notary public and see what he says. Allah Ta'ala.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Someone mentions here, can I stipulate something for my wife or son? First rule is, if it's for an heir, by default, can one stipulate? It's an heir, so you cannot stipulate. That's the default rule. But what if someone stipulated something for the son or the wife? What do we do in that case? We ask all of the heirs whether they are fine with it or if they're not fine. If they are fine with it, then we allow it. It's as if they are giving from their money. Are you with us? Right? And if they do not allow it, then we will not allow it. So here, can I stipulate something for my son or wife, etc., over and above whatever the Quran dictates? Number one, you should not do that. Right? You're going against the Quran. So you should not do that, number one. If someone did that, then as we said, we ask the rest of the heirs whether they are okay with it. Otherwise, if they are not okay with it, we would not allow it at all. Nothing to do with 1/3. We would not allow it at all. Because this is now over and above the share for an heir, and that is not allowed. If they allow it, then it's fine. Alhamdulillah. What if you have a strong feeling that one of your heirs will use the money wrongly? Nothing you can do about that. It's not your money. Once you die, automatically it becomes their money. As we said, someone passes away, and all he owns is a cell phone. Automatically his 3 sons become shareholders in it according to 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. And now if one of them uses it to phone his girlfriend or something, you're not responsible for that if you made the proper tarbiyah, inshallah. Another point to remember, that as we said, even that pin in the home, even that nail which was owned by their father, forms part and parcel of the estate. Then what do? You got the plates, you got the spoons, you got the forks, mother died. Well, you work out the value of all of that, and either you sell it, maybe not so practical, or one of the heirs decides to keep it, and then he pays the value of it to the rest of the heirs. Simple to work that out, inshallah. What if the family member passes away and you do not know how much they owe for zakah? That's why it was so important for them to have a will, so that they stipulated. Someone passes away, and he was your father, and you do not know that he owes zakah money. Will you do anything? You won't do anything, because you don't know. Yawm al-Qiyamah, it's his responsibility. He has to answer for number one, why he did not pay zakah. Number two, why did he not stipulate it in his will? That's for him to answer.
When can I keep or give my will after I make one? Right? Or make copies. With me or make copies. Okay, yeah, in this will that we have, it says that you make 3 copies, but this is not a restriction, it's up to you. If you want to make 5 or 6 copies, it's up to you. In this document, it says that you need to appoint 2 guardians, for example. If the first one is not available, and the second one will be the guardian of your children, and you need to appoint at least 2 executors. So if the first one refuses, or is not available, then it goes to the second one. So at least here you need to have 4 copies to give to these people. And you keep one at home. If your wife is a guardian, one of the guardians or one of the executors, then it's enough to have 1 copy at home. Allah Ta'ala. It's up to you, make 3, 4 copies, it's fine. And there's no problem with that, inshallah. Young kid is inheritor. Can you set an age when he or she will get the money? The Quran says until they reach the age of marriage, but the ulama in their tafsir, in Surah Al-Nisa, in their tafsir they said until he reaches or she reaches the age of puberty, that you have to test them. They said the ulama, or the ayah actually says in Surah Al-Nisa, they need to be tested. So you give them some money and you observe their behavior with money. If they are responsible, they are mature, then you can give them their money, if you feel that they are. So you don't have to wait until they are 18. Hopefully that this is not against the law here. I don't think it's against the law. If they are 15, I think you still can give them their money. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Then you have to have witnesses. The transfer of money, you have to get people to witness this transfer of money, that you gave them their money. Or if it is done through a lawyer, that's the best arrangement that you can make. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam.
The question is, can one disinherit any heir? MashaAllah. Happens often. In fact, many communities. Right? You got married to the wrong girl. Khalas, your father disinherits you. And no talking, no this, no that. There's no such thing as disinheriting. You cannot say that this son here, because he did such and such, he will not inherit from my estate. You can write it in gold, you can write it in stone. He is your son and he will inherit from you. There are certain exceptions. If, for example, he leaves the fold of Islam, then different set of rules apply. If, for example, he kills you, then he will not inherit from you. Someone says, MashaAllah, my father is sitting on millions, and I'm waiting, so 90 now, 100, inna lillah. How long? 110, subhanallah. So I need to take over the enterprise, I need to take over the empire, etc. And so he says, Jazakallah, Father, MashaAllah, Allah, so he should go to Jannah, inshaAllah. And so, he was the reason for the father's death. He killed the father. He will not inherit from the father's estate. So you can only disinherit yourself by killing the person you're supposed to inherit from, by leaving the fold of Islam, etc. Or slavery matter doesn't apply today. But otherwise, there's no such thing as you, as the one who has the wealth, and you state that so and so, I will not allow them to inherit, I ban them. Not allowed, you cannot do it, you can do it, but you will be disregarded. Who are the heirs? The mother, cousin, father, etc., etc. All of those matters, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, we will discuss in the course on Sunday, inshaAllah. Suffice to note that there's 6 categories of people who will never, ever be excluded, except if they exclude themselves by killing or by leaving the fold of Islam. So you can work it out. The 2 above you and the 2 below you, meaning your father, your mother, if you died, your father, your mother, if they are alive, they will always inherit from you. Your kids, your son, your daughter, they will always inherit. And the spouse, so the husband or the wife, they will always inherit. These 6 are never ever excluded, except if they exclude themselves. Father, mother, always inherit. Son, daughter, always inherit. Husband, wife, always inherit. As for the others, if these people are not there, then they get a chance, inshaAllah. Husband, wife. 6 people will never be excluded. Obviously, if the husband passed away, then there's only one left behind, and that's the wife. As for our narrative has Eve and Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. No. So, husband, wife will always inherit. Father, mother, always inherit. Son and daughter. These 6, nobody can exclude them except if they exclude themselves.
So, now, brother, must the will be notarized? Actually, this is a difficult question. I talked to 2 lawyers. One of them, he said, no, it doesn't have to be. And the second one, he said, it must be notarized. To be in the safe side, I think you should notarize it for Allah Ta'ala. It will have some power. Especially when you do it with a lawyer.
We have actually a base, sorry, I was in the one document from the government, post office sells this $35. And that you don't need to go to lawyer, you have to 2 witnesses.
That's it.
See your signature. It's from the government, it's the post office is selling those $35.
And it's a will.
It's a will.
Yeah, but now we were talking about your Islamic will.
Yeah, without any signing from the lawyer.
No, this is a form that is provided by the government. Now we're talking about our own will.
Yeah, but anyway, that government is not telling you that you are mandatory. Your will, whatever you want to do, you can do there.
Okay. For free, for $35. You said for $35.
$5 you have to buy it.
You buy it. You buy a will, right?
Yeah, this is like a document. You can write, you can change those things.
Or you can change.
Yeah, it is
Can change, okay. Yeah, but you buy it for $35, you can have this copy that is free from ISC or Mac or MCC, and you pay only $20 with a notary public.
This document is like somebody is telling, no, this is not valid, this is not valid, it is valid, because there is no lawyer.
Okay, fair enough. Anyway, it's up to you. I mean, you do it the way you want, but I don't think the notary publics will charge like more than $40 or something for something like that. You don't go through it. You have to witness, for example, your signature of the witnesses, and that's it. And they give you a stamp. Fine. Would you please clarify the role of waqf? Is it included in the maximum 1/3 of wasiyah? Of course, if you want to leave this sadaqah, this 1/3 as a waqf, if we are giving it to an established waqf, then it's easy. You don't have to do anything. You just tell people, or include in your wasiyah, that this money should go to this foundation, this trust. And it is established by another organization, by other people. Now, the problem comes if you are establishing a waqf by yourself. If you didn't do the paperwork, you didn't establish anything, then it will be difficult for the people to do it on your behalf. Because when you do a waqf, as a waqif, you have to include your conditions, you have to tell, there is a process that you have to follow. So it's not easy. Now, but if it is an established foundation or trust, of course, you can. You can give it to a masjid and it will be a waqf. Some people are building a masjid, for example, and you said, okay, this money, I want it to be given to this masjid, and it will be a waqf. Because this masjid is a waqf. No one owns the masjid. It's the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So of course you can give it as a waqf if you want. Can you inherit the debts of your parents? What do you mean by that? You pay the debts on their behalf? Inherit the debts of your parents. What do you mean by that? Who made the question?
If you don't have money, only, for example, they have only 1,000 and they have 100,000 debt.
So you pay it on their behalf, right?
But I inherit or
What do you mean inherit?
you
Do you have to pay it on their behalf? This is what you mean. Of course you pay. I mean to the best of your ability. It's nice. It is an act of worship. Yani, you are doing something nice. You are being kind to your parents if you pay their debts, because debts, as the Sheikh said, are very serious. People will be asked, taken to account about that. The shaheed, everything will be, all his sins will be forgiven except debts, because they are huquq al-ibad, the rights of other people. If someone pays these debts on their behalf, then he will be doing a great favor to them. And of course, their children are the best people to take this responsibility and pay these debts. But if they can't, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not burden a soul beyond its capacity or ability. I mean, if you can't pay them, you can do nothing about it. But if you can, of course, you should do it as a child. It is an act of kindness to your parents. Wallahu ta'ala alam shaykh.
Maybe if we reword that last one, let's say, for example, husband and wife. So the wife, mashallah, she's gone out and she's bought dresses into hundreds of thousands of dollars. Right? So she's left behind a credit card debt of maybe 10, 20,000. But when she passes away, all she left in her estate was $1,000. So she owes 9,000 extra dollars. So the question could be, does the husband have to pay the debt of the wife? It would be a nice thing, mashallah. It would be fantastic, mashallah. But does he have to? No, he does not have to. Will she have to answer? She will have to answer upstairs. Does he have to from his own pocket money? No, he does not have to. But it's a good thing to do, inshallah. If it was good clothes. Now, with regards to property, etc., sometimes we might have property assets registered on the name of a kid, registered on the name of the spouse, registered on the name of the neighbor. But in reality, who is the owner? You are the owner. For example, maybe for tax purposes, Salim bought a car and he put the car on the name of his son who is 14 years old. But who's the owner of that car? It is Salim. When Salim passes away, that car will be distributed as per the normal estate. If, for example, Salim wanted his son to be the owner, then he should have made it clear. Because, as per the law of this, as per the law of the land, as long as it's on the name of someone, he's the owner. Right? But sometimes, for tax or whatever, tax efficiency, or whatever other reason, you might put it on your friend's name, you might put it on your neighbor's name, etc. There's no legal bearing on that Islamically. Islamically, we look at who in reality is the owner of that property. Maybe when you purchased a house, to get a better rate, you put it on your name and your wife's name, spouse. Both of your names, mashallah. But you are the owner. You are the one responsible. So, when you pass away, it will be part and parcel of your estate. If, for example, we have a case like the other question, sometimes we have husband and wife who combine their income, and they are 50-50 owners in the property. They bought it, and maybe she put 50, he put 50. Maybe he put 100%, but he told her, the other 50% I gifted to you. So you are also a 50% owner. So when he dies, only 50% will be part and parcel of his estate. Why? Because he only owns 50% of the house. The other 50% will remain the property of the wife, because she owns that. That will not be distributed as per estate. That's hers. He died. She has not yet died. So when you have combined income, etc., similar like any other company, then what percentage do they share in it? Is it 50-50? Is it 75-25, etc.? Is it allowed to have a company or an organization as the executor of the will? Yeah, no problem in that, inshallah. What is the difference between a gift and wasiyah? Wasiyah takes effect on your death. Gift takes effect now. Many a times, you have the mother, she's got 3 daughters. And so she takes this necklace and this bangle and this gold chain, etc. And she says, my daughter, when I die, this here will go to you. And this bangle will go to Sumayya. And this diamond ring will go to Sadia. If she did not give it to them in her lifetime, they will not get it as per her wishes when she dies. Because when she dies, then it becomes what? It becomes like a wasiyah. And can a wasiyah be made to an heir? No, it can't. If she dies, then it will follow the rules of inheritance, and it will not go to Sumayya and Sadia this and Salihah that. It will go as per inheritance, and it could go to whichever one of them, etc. You want to gift them something? Then gift it. Here, Sumayya, this ring is yours. Sumayya takes it, it belongs to her. She must pay zakah, it's hers. But you know, the mothers, the grannies have this thing. I'm giving it to you, but I must still control. Then what's that? Did you give it or did you not give it? I give it after I die. Then it follows inheritance, and it follows wasiyah rules, etc. But you want to gift it, you give it now, they become the owners. And the only rule which applies there is if you're giving it during your life, that you need to be just. You cannot be unjust. You cannot give to your eldest kid and not give to the rest. You cannot give him double and give the rest, less than that. You give equally, or if there's a special reason to give one more. Maybe, for example, 4 are doctors, and one he sweeps the streets. And so he needs extra due to his circumstance. Maybe he's got debts, so due to that you might give him extra. Then there's no issue with that. Wallahu a'lam.
If a person has a large estate, is it allowed for it to be divided before the time of death, and therefore avoid it being divided according to the Sharia? So here there are 2 parts in this question. The first part is it allowed to divide the inheritance before someone passes away? The ulama, they said it's okay. I mean, it's permissible to do it, but it's not something that is appreciated. It's not something that is preferred. Why? Because before you pass away, a new situation may arise. A new baby is born in the family, or something happens, someone passes away. So the ulama, they said the inheritance should not be divided before the person, passes away. Should leave it to the other people. They will deal with it. The executor of your will, executors of your will deal with it. Allah Ta'ala. But if someone like does some divide the inheritance or his wealth, his properties before his death with the intention of escaping or going against the rules of Sharia, then this is a sin. There is no doubt about it. Like when you do it on purpose. Someone told me, I have a daughter or 2 daughters, I think, and then he said he has properties. So, and he doesn't have sons. He doesn't have sons. So in this case, if he passes away, his daughters, his wife will take something, and his daughters will take something, and his brothers will inherit from his properties. I said, I don't want my brothers to inherit from my properties. So I want to write a wasiyah for my daughters to take everything. You cannot do that. If you do it with this purpose, then it's haram. And that's why ulama قال الضرار في الوصية من الكبائر. They said harming or violating the rights of others in the will is a major sin. One of the major sins. And the problem is, I will tell you something, brothers and sisters. We worry about our children after we pass away. We want to leave everything for them, even by going against the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But I want you to think about something. You and I will go to the grave, right? They will enjoy money, the wealth that we leave behind, our children. They will enjoy this wealth. But we will go to the grave and we will be asked about it. And I want you as a Muslim to think in a different way. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who gave you rizq, right? He's the one who provided for you. And He's the one who created your children. You did not create them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created them, and their rizq is allocated. It will come to them. So you don't have to worry about your children by disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't worry. Do follow the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you'll be happy. In dunya and akhirah. What about work insurance where they make you designated to relatives? How does that fit into will, inheritance? You mean life insurance? Or work insurance? If it is life insurance is haram. We're not supposed to have life insurance. But anyway, if it is inherited, it will be part of the inheritance. Unless the inheritors or the heirs want to get rid of it. That's a different option for them. They said, we don't want this money, it's up to them. Na'am ya.
What if work forces you to sign a piece of paper saying you get some sort of...
Yeah, if you are forced to take insurance, this is a basic principle in Sharia. If you are forced to take an insurance in this country, you can take it. You don't have to lose your job because of this requirement. Yeah. So if you are forced to do it, you take it. That's fine. And especially if it is attached to your contract, the main contract between you and the sharika, the main subject of contract is your job, the services that you are offering to the company and the salary that they are paying. So the other benefits are attached to it. And sometimes, gharar, if there is gharar, life insurance is based on riba, it's not gharar, but most of 90% of insurance is based on gharar, which is uncertainty. And there is some tolerance in Sharia for gharar. There is zero tolerance for riba in Sharia, but there is some tolerance for gharar in Sharia. And that's why there is the fatwa of many scholars now, nowadays, that if there is a need for insurance, then you take it. And when you are forced to take it, you take it. You don't have to lose your job for that. And you don't have to go through difficulties if you are sick and you need some help. And you're not covered by the government. So you can buy health insurance, wallahu ta'ala a'lam. But that's a different topic. Jazakumullahu khair.
May I ask one more thing to follow up with that?
Yeah.
So with these companies, someone will do, they automatically enroll you in it, so you don't necessarily sign up. So if something happens, they will pay out like a premium. So can you put in your will that this should just be given as sadaqah or something just to filter it out of your estate? Is that what you should do? Because they're going to pay you. Like life insurance, you will inevitably die. So you will inevitably get paid.
Yeah.
Why it's-
You want to include it in the third, you can do that, yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Or even on the third, can you just say like, out of your estate, just
Yeah.
put instructions for your family to get rid of it, and then the other.
You can do that, it's an option.
Yeah.
It's an option. To purify your wealth and your income, yeah, that's fine, to be in the safe side. Because life insurance is, there's like an agreement between all scholars, Muslim scholars, that life insurance is not permissible. Allah Ta'ala.
If the husband is debt-free and the wife has a student loan, can they both go for Hajj if the husband is paying for all the expenses? There's no issue with them going for Hajj as long as the payments for that student loan, they can make it. Many times you have this question, we owe some money here, we owe some money there. Are we allowed to go for Hajj? If, for example, you can make that payment, maybe it's a monthly payment. Maybe you owe $300 every month for the next 20 years. Does it mean 20 years you can't go for Hajj? No. The issue there is, the mas'ala comes in where that you do down the people that you owe money to, and you're running all around and you're going for Hajj. You're not paying them and you're doing Hajj. But if you can pay them and you can go for Hajj, then there's no issue at all. فهمتم؟ جيد تفضل دكتور. That's a side story now. Okay? So now why you had a student loan and then there's riba. This was a halal student loan. سوء الظن. How am I able, mashallah, how am I able to give an heir an extra share? Right? How can I give an heir an extra share? Right? You can't. Right? You can't, subhanAllah. Either you have some loopholes that people have come up with, and as they say, these loopholes only the ulama know about them. Right? Ordinary layman wouldn't even think about them. For example, let me tell you, or it's opening up a loophole. Right? For example, so the guy has 3 sons, and he wants to give the eldest son extra. But now he knows Sharia, I cannot do this, what am I going to do? So then he calls that eldest son and he says, come, let's write a document here where it states that I owe this son $50,000 which I borrowed 3 years ago. So what would that mean? When he dies, we're going to sort out debts. Then automatically that son will come with that piece of paper that, you know what, father had borrowed from me a few years ago, he wanted to go for an operation, 50,000. So before we even come to inheritance, give me my 50. He will take that 50 and then they'll sort out wasiyah, etc. And then they'll do inheritance. Each son will get 10, 10, 10. But the eldest son got 60. The 50, which came from that fake debt, and also that 10. Mushkila. Allah musta'an. All the guys got 3 wives. And on his deathbed, his last wife or the first wife, etc., he favors her. So he calls all the wives, MashaAllah, and he says, Wallahi, I love you all, but this one, you are divorced, and this one here, you are divorced. And then after the iddah, etc., iddah finishes, etc., he knows he's only got like 7 months to live, 8 months to live, and then he passes away. And so when he dies 7, 8, 9 months later, he would only have 1 wife. Or, even if maybe he's going to die tomorrow, so what he does is, he says, I divorce you 3 times. Divorce you 3 times. So khalas, there's no raj'ah, there's no, anything like that. Mushkila, why are we saying this? Alright? And so this is haram, haram, haram. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. And in fact, many of the ulama, based upon the fatwa of Uthman, etc., they said that this person who divorces, and we know that he divorced so that that wife will not inherit, we will punish him and we'll make sure she will inherit even after the divorce. Technically not husband and wife, even after her iddah. Some of them said we'll still give her her share because she was done down by this person. Wallahu a'lam. And the last one, for example, someone also makes a fake wasiyah. He doesn't like any of his kids. None of them helped me, none of them visited me at hospital. So when I die, he doesn't like RSPCA. He does not like the Department of Education. He doesn't really like Al-Kawthar, right? But he says, when I die, 1/3 must go to Al-Kawthar. Why? So that his heirs get less money. He wants to harm them so that he gives to Al-Kawthar something. But that one, we might find a way, inshallah. Allah. Right, from my side, I thank you all. Jazakumullah khairan. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, this weekend course, I really encourage you people to attend the course. It's a fantastic course. Tomorrow, everything to do with Janazah. We will start with Brother Ahmed from the time he falls ill, right up to the ghusl, the Janazah, everything pertaining to the matter of death, we will discuss. And then on the Sunday, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, we will deal with everything pertaining to inheritance. And I give you this guarantee, if you concentrate 60% concentration on the Sunday, you will be able to work out the following example, inshallah. I guarantee you, inshallah, that someone passes away. He leaves behind an ex-wife and 2 other wives, and unfortunately he had a girlfriend too. He has 3 sons, a stepson, 2 daughters, and an illegitimate daughter. And he's got 3 brothers, full brothers, 4 maternal brothers, 1 paternal brother, 3 full sisters, and 2 paternal sisters. A father, a mother, a grandfather, a great-grandfather, and a stepfather, inshallah. And you can add in, he's got a pet dog and a pet cat. Right? Work out the inheritance, and I guarantee you that you will be able to work that out bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. So from my side, jazakumullah khairan, and please attend the course, inshallah.
Sisters, so if I'm feeling my grandparents' wealth was not inherited according to Islamic rulings, and now it is being many years, is it too late to fix it now? If now, how can we do this? This is a very complicated issue, and it's not difficult. It's not easy to give you a general answer for these kind of questions. But of course, there are steps. If you are sure that the inheritance was not divided based on Islamic rulings, then you still have the option to give nasiha, to remind people about respecting the rules of Islamic Sharia here. Because it is an act of dhulm. You just go to Surah An-Nisa, and you go to ayah 13 and 14. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started this ayah, تِلْكَ حُدُودُ اللَّهِ. These are the limits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَمَنْ يَتَعَدَّ حُدُودَ اللَّهِ. If anyone would cross this limit, would transgress the limits of Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, by going against the ruling of these Sharia rulings that are well clarified in this surah, Surah An-Nisa, ayah 10 and 11 and 12, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is promising them in these ayat hellfire, the punishment of hellfire. Then now this is a very serious issue. So you give them nasiha, you talk about it. If the law of the land, I don't know, if this happened here or back home, you can still, if you have a document, you have a proof, you still you can go back to you see the system, you check the system in your country, and if it is possible to take them to the court, if you can do that. But if it is a family issue, and you are part of this family, you don't want to create problems, then that's a different issue. I mean, it's a judgment call that you make. But you still can talk to imams in your area and consult with them about this issue. But in this program, it's very hard to give a general answer here because we don't know the details of this incident. We don't know what happened. We don't know the division of this inheritance. The details are not mentioned here. So, but there is always room for nasiha. You tell people, you remind them about the rulings of Sharia. Go back to Surah An-Nisa, ayah 13 and 14. The matter is very serious, wallahi ikhwan. And we have to respect the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we'll be happy in dunya wal akhirah. Jazakumullah khair for coming. Barakallahu feekum. May Allah bless your time and effort.